Okay, and now I'm in a meeting with Jeff Lewis and Julie Tarmy.
Yeah.
And is John Lazore, is that one of your folks?
You still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Is John Lazar one of your people? Is that what?
Is it John Lazar?
Yeah.
He's the veterans agent.
Okay, but he
let me finish on my meeting and give me 10 minutes so I can
and this is a lousy connection. I can't understand a word you're saying.
Okay.
All right, so FinCom folks.
Can you just shut down?
I didn't hear a word you said.
Can you hear what
Now I can, yeah.
Rob, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
I think he's on the phone with Michelle.
How do I turn it off when I'm done?
Yeah, you guys can take care of it.
Can you hear?
Hang on,
Just
hang on. Here's Tony. Hey, Tony. Tony,
yes.
I think we have an interesting problem. Michelle also scheduled a meeting under your account name for this exact same time. So we have like 2 meetings scheduled under the A. Barletta Zoom account at exactly the same time.
That should be impossible. Zoom wouldn't allow that. Are you sure, Michelle, that you're not under B. Blair or K. Taylor?
No, I had the Kristen gave me a. That's okay. Here's what I'm proposing. Can you just give me 10 minutes with my committee so I can get them to see if they can meet? Because we do need to meet or reschedule for Monday, and right. The FinCom meeting was scheduled and posted 3 days before my meeting.
Yeah, or yeah, you have it's the same password with the other 2 logins, B. Blair or K. Taylor.
Okay. If we look attending, they're not going to get.
Yeah.
Or could the HPP committee meet after this meeting concludes?
Well, it's posted.
Publicly
It's
posted.
in a half an hour.
Yeah, okay.
So, I'll call Michelle. Bob, so you guys can do your thing and I don't have to talk through you to are you on the cell phone or your cell phone with her?
Yeah, I'm holding my cell phone up to the computer.
Yeah, let me just call Michelle.
Oh, gosh.
How do you make us bigger?
When I
You
first tried to
guys?
get in, it said that there was
Right.
another meeting in progress.
Progress.
And then what I did was I stopped and I went out completely and I got in the second time.
I got kicked out 3 times.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, so this Zoom meeting is the link on the finance committee's agenda.
right.
So use this for your finance committee meeting. And then I'll call Michelle and figure out a solution for them. So you guys can go forward.
Okay, and well, this may be moot anyway, because I'm counting on my fingers. Vanderslice, Beatty, Tarmy,
Warren.
Deborah Warren, that's 4.
And
Joy,
then-
but Joy, I don't know if she has been sworn in yet. And if she has not, then
Have not.
has not.
Okay. Well, maybe giving a couple more minutes because I got kicked out 3 times.
Yep.
So maybe others are having the same problem.
So let's give it a second and see what happens.
What do we
Peter
need
was
to do?
expecting
Hi,
to-
Joy. Hi, Joy.
Joy, we
Hi,
do,
nice to meet you.
Good to
we
meet
don't-
you. What do we need to do to get Joy sworn in ASAP? Can we do that?
You know,
uh,
go to the clerk.
she has to
Oh.
do it in front of the town clerk.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a big deal.
yeah.
So
I-
do I just go to town hall to do that, or do I need an appointment? Like, I'm not quite sure what the
I would
protocol is.
I would call her office and make sure she's going to be there, because sometimes she has appointments out of the building.
Gotcha.
She's-
I will
she-
do my best to do that. It is tax season, so my time off during the week is pretty limited, but I'll do what I can.
Or email her and find out how you can do it.
I'll do that for sure. Yes.
Yeah, I understand. My best friend from high school still, she's an accountant and she's just crazed right now.
It's every year gets tougher and tougher. Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah, I get it.
Exactly. I
And
am a
people,
lap- I'm
people
a
need
lapsed-
you.
I am a lapsed accountant. I no longer have to go through it, but I can sympathize.
Mr.
Well, I
Pierentoni,
look forward to being in your spot someday.
Participant ID
It'll
followed
be
by
soon.
pound. Otherwise, just press pound to continue.
And,
Please
and
enter the meeting password followed by pound.
So if Dana's
I
here,
know who
that's
that is.
fine.
Mr. Pierentoni,
You
before
are
we,
in the
before we
meeting now.
begin,
There
which I'm
are 8
hoping we will,
participants in the
I'm
meeting.
sorry, I don't
This meeting
recognize
is being
the woman with
recorded.
you.
You are muted.
Hi,
You
I'm
can
Patty
mute or
Karras. I'm the
unmute
chair of the
yourself
school
by
committee. It's
pressing
very
star
nice to meet
6.
you, Julie.
Thank you, Patty. Just for the record.
We have a little
Oh, boy.
audio problem here.
Yeah, someone's echoing terribly.
Seems better.
Okay, that's the call in.
our.
Bob, what's your quorum number? 5?
5.
And is Dana on? Because I see Patty Sheehan, and that's usually Dana.
Is this?
That, I think it's Patty.
No, this is
Oh, it is Dana.
Oh, it is.
Oh, Dana's here.
Dana, you can't have the audio on the computer. And are you on the phone as well?
hang on.
So we've got 5, we've got a quorum.
We do have a
Yeah.
quorum. Yay. Okay. Normally our meetings are just not this exciting.
Does
If
that
it's
sound
a-
better? Sorry to interrupt, but can everybody hear me all right?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
perfect. Yes. That's much
I
better.
actually have 2 computers going and the phone because the audio is not working on the Zoom.
Wow.
Oh, here comes Judy.
Happy birthday,
just-
Judy. It's her birthday today.
Oh, wow. Do we sing?
Thank you
here?
very much. Look,
And then there's Judy. Now there's 6.
oh,
Okay.
we're waiting for a quorum. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, that's
No.
okay.
Happy birthday. It's quite the way to be spending your birthday.
It is a little funny, but that's okay. I can't start the video. That's odd. I took the afternoon off and played in the sunshine, so I'm good now. Thanks.
All right, rub it in.
Don't mean to, but gosh, it's great.
There's Dana.
There's
Hi.
Dana. Hey,
Video camera, please select another video camera. Said how interesting.
and Bob,
Oh, there
can you share the PowerPoint presentation that Kristen and I sent you?
If I can find it, I will, but let's first things first. Let's call this meeting to order. So it is what, 6:41, and after some technical difficulties, we have a meeting. We have a quorum. Present from the Finance Committee is Bob Vanderslice, Barbara Beatty, Deborah Warren, Judy Zahora, Dana Sheehan, Julie Tarmy. Anyone else? Our almost member Joy is with us. Jeff Lewis is with us. Kathy Martin is also with us. And
Ah,
the school committee school superintendent and school committee are also joining us.
Good evening.
Hello,
good
everyone.
evening.
Hello.
Hi, welcome, Joy.
We are in.
Oh, thank you so much.
So
And
Kristen should have sent a link to, she said she was gonna, I was over here this earlier today, and Kristen said she was gonna send it to you, Bob, because you're the host.
Materials from JES for meeting tonight. That sounds promising, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
So, okay, so let me download both of these things.
Say hello to everybody last year. Her pages.
Said it right.
Which do you want first?
The PowerPoint. I think you all have the detail pages as part of the large department document that Allison has shared with you.
Okay, this is Zoom. Hang on, I'm not a Zoom dude here.
That's all right.
Share screen.
You know, guys, I have a problem with my camera. I'm gonna log off. I'll be back in 3 minutes.
There you go. Good job.
Okay, let's do this.
Yeah, all you have to do is go click slideshow. There you go.
There we go.
Perfect.
All right, so you just need to like beep at me anytime, like, remember the old,
Yep.
yeah. So
Can you
what-
see me? I'll give you a right hand.
let me see, all I can see is your presentation.
Okay, I'll just say next.
Yep,
Many.
okay.
Are
Well,
these-
good evening,
sorry.
members of the Nahant Finance Committee. It's a pleasure to be here. And I have my typical PowerPoint, and I also would be referring typically to the detail budget, but I think I'll go through the PowerPoint, and then Bob can put the detail up after I'm done with the PowerPoint, if that makes more sense. I think it does, right, Bob?
That's fine, that works.
Okay. So it's a great pleasure to be here as always. The first, next.
Next slide, please.
Oh, that one next was it for me.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay. And we have a 5-member school committee, and it is my privilege to be presenting this to you, sitting next to our chair, Patricia Karras.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here this evening.
Right.
And for the first time, for the first time, maybe the second time since I've been here, every member of the school committee has a child at the Johnson Elementary School,
That
which is
true.
wonderful. It's just a great place to be. Next. So this slide gives you some overview. The school committee, this is the school committee approved budget, which is from, I think everyone, with the exception of Joy, is a veteran on the committee. The process with a school budget for a town is different than the other departments. I present the budget to the school committee starting in November, and I keep fine tuning it. And on February 14th, there was a public hearing. At the public hearing, the school committee accepted a motion and a second and unanimously approved the budget. So this is now the school department budget. And obviously, we're here tonight asking for your support at town meeting for this budget.
Okay. And is this what is in the selectmen's budget as well?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes, I gave this every time I brought a new version of the budget to the school committee, I shared it with Allison and the town administrator. So they were apprised of the budget process. And then when the school committee approved it on February 14th, I sent them a new copy with a handwritten note on it, approved at the regularly scheduled school committee meeting and at the at the budget hearing on February 14th.
Yeah.
So for the first time since I've been here, all three segments of the budget are increasing this year. It has been my good fortune to be able to increase two of these and decrease one in town in years previous. And I think we all know what's happening with inflation and a variety of other things. And this year, I just found that to be impossible. And I will explain. The factors speak for themselves. There are significant cost increases for supplies and materials. This budget includes a 3% increase for the Unit A, that are teachers and licensed educators like the speech and language pathologist and our nurse, and a 4% increase for Unit B, who are the educational support personnel, also known as paraprofessionals. If you've been following the paper, you know that there have been job actions in a variety of school districts. The two issues that have caused job actions are obviously inflation. Employees want to keep up with inflation, and the historic low salaries that paraprofessionals or our educational support personnel have received. So this is we'll be going into the second year of a 3-year contract. The school committee approved the budget. Rather than having a dramatic increase to bring the paraprofessional salaries up to a living standard, they approved this year's 3% increase, fiscal 24's 4% increase, and in fiscal 25's 5% increase. Now, what we did to offset that is the teachers' increases are 3% in the current year, 3% next year, and 2.5%. So that 0.5% will fund that extra percent for the Unit B. We found that the other districts were creating a conflict that this school committee appropriately determined wasn't in the best interest of the school district. And we figured out a way during negotiations to avoid that. So we're very pleased about that. If you can remember, we have one group of students where we have two sections. Currently, it's in second grade and it will move to third grade. We're also going to have two kindergarten sections, because we have a very large kindergarten coming in, but we have a very small 5th and 6th grade sections. So what we're going to do is combine that for 1 year, and we are going to have a combined 5th and 6th grade. So even though we now have gone from 2 grade levels with 2 sections, from 1 grade level with 2 sections to 2 grade levels with 2 sections, we're not going to have a net increase in the licensed teaching staff for our classroom teachers. We obviously have to purchase educational materials and supplies, and the cost of them is going up. The Swampscott tuition, based on the recommendations of the town manager and the finance committee several years ago, we now have a stable contract with Swampscott. So that's going up 2.5% per year. And in this particular year, that's a real positive thing for Nahant, because I'm sure if we were having a new contract with them, or if we were paying a per pupil, that would be going up dramatically more. Our Essex North, sure.
Sorry to interrupt. If anyone is on this meeting looking for the housing production plan meeting, a new link is being uploaded to the community calendar as I say this. So just give it 5 minutes and you can go back to nahant.org and click on the updated link to get onto the other meeting. Thank you, Tony. Sorry.
Thank you. And thank you for all your help. So this includes our Essex North Shore tuition, even though that is not exactly the part of the budget that I have control over as superintendent, nor does the school committee. We always add it to the educational budget so that the community can see it as an educational cost. Our special education costs are going up. Those of you who were with me last year remember, and you can see it on our spreadsheet, that the education for special education students and the transportation for special education students has been dropping. And if you remember last year, I said, I'm not sure how much longer that can go on because of the impact of COVID-19. And it came to fruition. We need some special education testing materials. We have some extraordinary building costs, which I'm trying to absorb in the regular budget. We're purchasing a new curriculum for social studies, and we are beginning a multi-year teacher desktop replacement, all within the budget. So that's an overview. Next, please, Bob.
Okay. Do you want to entertain questions in line?
Absolutely, anytime.
All right, so let's pause here for questions. I do have, I have two. One, the salary increases, that is a collective bargaining negotiation?
Yes.
Yes, and so it's
Yes.
settled, it's settled and signed.
We are, next year, we will be going into the second year of a 3-year contract, which was for 3, 3, 2.5 for the unit A, who are the licensed educators, and 3, 4, 5 for the paraprofessionals.
Okay, got it. There's one thing I don't see here, which is like increases in energy costs, well, energy cost in particular, but you know, all purchase of services, purchase of supplies, things like that, which in some of the other budgets has been a notable increase.
Yes, the first line, a significant cost increase for supplies and materials. And then all department heads were told by Allison and by Tony B not to put a huge increase in energy costs in our budgets. They decided that they would have a supplemental line that would cover the unknown increases in gas and electric.
Yep.
So I was directed to put a 2% increase in this.
Okay.
And that was about a month and a half ago, because the school committee and I were trying to decide. I actually had a 25% increase in the budget, so it would have been higher. And Tony B and Allison requested that I take it out, put a 2% increase in, and then they are going to have an overlay budget to cover all of the energy increases.
Okay, and they do. I wasn't aware that the school was included in that.
Yes, I was asked to do the same as the other departments.
So what happens if you overspend? It's just a transfer from that account to the school, the big school budget line item account, right?
I would imagine so. As the finance committee is well aware, I have been managing a surplus every year, a significant surplus. I'm not sure what next year will bring, but I am not privy to how Allison and Tony are going to fund that supplemental energy. But that's a good question. I'm somewhat confident that we could probably fund it within our budget, and it would simply reduce the amount that we have been giving to free cash.
Okay, understood. All right, before Tony goes on, questions from any of the other committee members here?
This is Dana. I have a couple of questions.
Go.
Thank you. So, Tony and Patty, what is the expected impact on learning from combining 5th and 6th grades?
We are going to ask teachers for volunteers so that it is not an assignment by the principal, which it may turn out to be. But we will be down to a combined 14 students in 5th and 6th grade. In those two grades, every student has a Chromebook with them all day. And we will assign a paraprofessional so that there can be 2 or more lessons. We have already promised and will deliver on training for whoever the staff member is and the paraprofessionals so they can begin to work this spring on the diversification of the curriculum. In 5th and 6th grade, we have historically had 2 teachers involved, one teaching science and math, one teaching English and social studies. But obviously this would be different because the teacher would be teaching two different curricula. So we're expecting that the learning would be, the impact of it would be minimal because of the size and because of the preparation. And if we have to provide additional technology, we will. For example, if the teacher has a need for online learning curricula, we will be providing that too.
So just to follow up to that point, Tony, the reason for my question is teaching the 5th grade material with the 6th graders and vice versa. Is there going to be anything holding back the 6th graders while they wait for the 5th graders?
I anticipate no. I anticipate that using the paraprofessional, it's going to take planning, real planning, which is why we're giving extra time. And we would provide extra time for the teacher and the para in the summer too, if they so chose. Obviously, I can't require that. But we would expect there to be, if you think about an activity is given to one grade level based on their curriculum at that time, and the other grade level would be getting instruction and then it would switch. The other real benefit we have is we have more space than most schools have. So the 5th and 6th graders could literally be in different rooms.
Got it. And Tony, I expect your many years of experience in the education field will create many benefits for these kids, and it sounds like you're really planning for it. So thanks for doing that. And also one other thing, if you need any more budget for that, now would be the time, I guess.
Yeah. I don't believe we will, because we have a pretty healthy professional development budget, and we believe at this time that it will cover it. Once again, as you are well aware, the surplus that we've been running has enabled us to do lots and lots of things. And one thing that we certainly hope to have this year is a surplus, so that this spring and up until July 1st, if the 5th and 6th grade staff need more training, we can provide it. And we have actually already begun to work on diversification. The other thing that I think is worth noting is, even if you have one grade level and you're a classroom teacher, let's pick the 3rd grade classroom teacher, there are students in your classroom on a full spectrum of levels. There are some students who have special education needs. There are some students for our reading 2 and 3 grade levels above the grade, above the 3rd grade. So teachers have been diversifying and differentiating for years within one classroom, one grade level. This really puts an added factor in that we are fully aware of and we will fully plan for.
Thank you. And can I just have a couple more quickie questions, and then I'll let everybody else take the rest of my time. But how many students are in the Essex Aggie?
9.
And what's the total cost of the tuition there?
What is it? Cost?
The budget for Essex is 194,226.
And that's per year, right?
That's 1 year.
Okay. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana.
Tony, do you suppose that for next year's 6th grade, which is this year's 5th grade, will be a very small group, right?
Yes,
And you will cross that bridge when you come to it, I suppose.
exactly. The next year in fiscal 25, the challenge will be exacerbated because that 6th grade would only have 5 students, and the larger of the 2 will have moved on to 7th grade. But so we're looking at that. And we're thinking of a variety of elements that could be brought into the Johnson School that would really use that uniqueness as a strength rather than as a weakness. Individualized educational instruction, for example. Having that number of students, we could possibly put them into a combination of active in-person learning and long-distance learning from one of the universities or colleges or museums on a regular basis. Like I said, what we're thinking of is down the road, we could actually make that a real strength.
Well, I have a question.
And I do want to say that's a unique circumstance. After 25, we'll be back to full class size or 2 sections in each of our grade levels.
I have a question. Tony, is there any way, and this might not help because it requires extra planning, but is there any way you could get volunteers who, like, for instance, we have former teachers in town, retired teachers in town, or I don't know, like Salem State student teachers who might come in to do specialized in particularly the math and science, because that's the area that in terms of testing, there've been, that's harder in some ways, but also in the other areas. Is that possible, do you think? Or would it maybe not be advisable because of the planning time?
I think it's possible. I think it's a good thought. As you know, we already have reading volunteers, and that took off this year again. Good. After having a couple of down years. So we could definitely, and we have actually hired 2 part-time ESPs this year who are, one of them was the head of the high school English department at one of our neighboring school districts for, I think, 15 years. So we are already beginning that strengthening of our instruction.
And the other thing is you could bring, we've got a lot of people in town who may not have backgrounds specifically as certified teachers, but for instance, Bob and Joy and other people, accountants, have got really strong math backgrounds, and you've got people with strong science backgrounds in town. Super. So you've got people who could bring in and do like mini units.
I agree. I agree. Thank you for reminding me, and I'll bring that to Kevin right away. We'll jump on that. You'll probably all see the ads.
This is Judy. What's the student population and how has that changed over the last couple of years?
Because we have the drop in the current fourth and fifth grade, our population has dropped K through 6 about 20 students, but our pre-K program is thriving. Again, I'm expecting to have over 30 students in kindergarten, and therefore the need for 2 sections. We haven't had 30 students in kindergarten for about 9 years. So there's a temporary dip, and then it's going to be building back up.
Do you have any line of sight to what happens beyond the incoming kindergarten class?
The preschool group is large. The live births have been up, so it looks like it's going to continue on either an upward projection or at least a healthy projection for 20 to 25 students per year.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
One more time, what is the student population, please, again?
It's including preschool, it's about 153. And I say about because we have 2 students who are starting on Monday.
That's great.
150, what was last year population?
I'm sorry, what was it?
Last year's population, if you.
Last year's was about 159.
All right, thank
But
you.
again, we had those 2 small sections last year too. And then, of course, we have the students at Swampscott.
No, I'm just trying to understand what the general population is. Is it in what
The
what
town
average
population
per year is?
The pre-K 12 population is about 250.
And does that change significantly year over year, or is it just pretty much the same?
It's been dwindling. But again, we can see the resurgence in the young population.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Bob, you want to go to the next page, which would be the Johnson Elementary School changes. So I just want to remind the members that the school budget's divided into 3 sections: the Johnson School, the district, and the town, and I'll explain each of them. So the salary increases for I've updated the current budgeted staff based on the collective bargaining. What I would like to highlight for the members of the committee is that when we get to the detail sheet, if you want to get to the detail sheet, even though we have a 3% increase in salary for the regular full-time teachers and steps on the salary schedule, the salary line item for regular full-time teachers is actually going down slightly. I believe that number is like $300 to $400. I can't quite find it right now. And that's because, as I said over the last few years, I always use breakage to reduce the budget. Breakage is the difference between a veteran teacher leaving and the hiring of their replacement. So when a teacher retires, they're at the top of the salary schedule and they have at least a master's degree. Typically, it's a master's plus 15 or 30. And then when we hire the new staff, we try to hire someone with about 2 to 3 years experience with a master's degree, with experience. And that difference, which is significant, I then pour into that regular teaching salary line item. And that's why, even though there's a 3% increase, the 2024 fiscal year salary line item is $651,461 as compared to the current year, which is $651,890. So it's actually lower next year. So that's something that's important, I think, for the members of the Finance Committee to recognize. The details, as we've talked about earlier, supplies, material, contracts, all of our contracts for items that we need are going up dramatically. Paper, all of the materials, all the educational materials. And I have accounted for that in this budget. We also are going to continue with our John Collins writing program. That didn't go up that much. We're going to be purchasing a social studies curriculum, and as I mentioned, our technology replacements. So the Johnson School piece of the budget went up $72,635, which is 37.3% of the $194,610 increase. Any questions on the Johnson School? Okay.
One question, Tony. How about the preschool program? Is it cash flow positive to your budget?
It's cash flow negative. The preschool tuition paid by parents goes into a revolving account, and by law and audit requirements is kept as separate money. I can only spend that money on items related to the preschool program. Now, I can spend it on a variety of things. For example, technology, utilities, which we do. And we do that with the town finance director towards the end of the year when we see how the budget looks.
And how much do the parents pay in cents on the dollar for covering the cost of preschool?
I missed that.
Cents on the dollar in terms of what parents pay to cover the cost of preschool.
Parents pay 100% of preschool.
Of the cost?
Yes.
Oh, I misunderstood. I was asking if the preschool was cash flow positive in the sense that all the tuition the parents pay for their preschoolers covers the program.
That's correct. It covers the program. And it's cash flow positive, but it doesn't affect this budget because it's outside this budget in a revolving account.
Okay, and it doesn't go back into the school budget to help other school programs.
No, I can't do that.
Okay.
Let me make a parallel. I'm going to give two facts. One is we do have students who are paid to go to our preschool by the state because of their socioeconomics. That money stays in that revolving account and it's used to cover the salaries, the materials, the supplies in preschool, and it cannot be drawn over into the budget that we're talking about this evening. That's exactly how the lunch program funds work. When parents pay for the lunch of the students, now parents haven't paid since COVID-19 because the federal government's been picking it up. My assumption is as of July 1st, that's going to stop. That money has to be kept separate and can only be used to pay for the salaries and the food and the other things required to produce lunch.
Okay, and just a couple more final questions, quick ones. What is the bottom line budget amount for the school department this year compared to last year? The dollars.
It's including everything, including Essex and including transportation. It is this year, I'll give you the fiscal 23 first. It's $4,557,565. And next year it will go up $194,610. And it will be $4,552,175.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tony, I have a question. I'm sure you will be following that Governor Healy is very committed to early childhood education, preschool, and has been talking about funding universal preschool, which was actually passed in Massachusetts. I can't remember how many years ago. And then Governor Patrick did not fund it, which was very discouraging. So legally it's there, but it hasn't been funded. But I've been hearing that there's a lot more support for it now on Beacon Hill. So we can certainly be hopeful. And I mean, if there's something, I will go to hearings, whatever, that more is going to come through for universal preschool and early childhood education funding. I mean, I think that's something for us to be hopeful about. And I don't know if there's anything we can specifically do other than, I mean, I'm on lots of mailing lists about hearings and letters of support and all that kind of stuff, and I do that. But you might alert other families that that's the kind of thing they should think about, making sure that they let their representatives know. That's absolutely, I'm assuming our representatives are all in favor of it, but it's important to let them know how important we know it is.
I agree. I was involved in the discussion about the universal preschool probably 13 years ago.
That's when it was, right? I
Yeah.
was too. Yep.
And what typically happens, and hopefully it won't happen this time, is it starts out as universal preschool and then it ends up as a socioeconomically tied funding.
Targeted, right.
Targeted, that's right. And who knows what'll happen, but as we can suggest, our community will be one of the, not one of the last, but it will be kind of towards the upper middle of the target.
Right.
You know, Wellesley and communities like that would be at the very top. And they're probably going to make sure that the urban students, particularly non-English speaking families, get free preschool first. That's
Right.
typically,
Right.
and
It's gonna
obviously
be,
obviously that makes a lot of sense.
right. So it's going to be Lynn and Framingham and Lawrence and Lowell
Yeah.
and Brockton and Taunton. It's, I know, yeah, but I do know that because I was involved in that 13 years ago too. And, you know, Strategies for Children and Margaret, we had
Yeah.
gotten that through. And so there was great disappointment then when Patrick didn't support the funding. So I'm just hopeful that there's ways that we can let you know, families know that whenever there's a chance to support it, because if it's universal, I will simply be straightforward about this, it's better for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of research showing that universal pre-K is higher quality. I mean, the targeted is important and we all understand why, but we want to move that to universal if we can.
Yeah. One other thing, Barbara, you probably remember this. Universal preschool ended up with the offer of universal preschool. Unlike the mandated education, there was some pushback from families that didn't want their children out of the home at that young age. So it kind of morphed into, we're going to offer it to everybody. And then, of course, everybody turned out not to be everybody, but that a parent still had the right not to send a child to preschool. And I think that's important because when you use the concept of, or the term universal, you think it's going to be like first grade, everybody's going to go.
Yeah, it's not going to be compulsory.
That's
But-
right.
But there's new data out from National Center for Education Statistics, NCES, showing that the enrollments of children, so these would be voluntary enrollments, the enrollments of 2 and 3 and 4-year-olds in any kind of preschool program are shooting up. They're really-
Absolutely.
they're really rising. So I think the support, hopefully you're going to get much more universal support, but universal is not a good term. I agree.
Yeah. So I just wrote down that note to keep the parents informed, and I did read through the budget, and it's there as we all know, from the governor's budget through the House, through the Senate, through the joint committee, back to the governor, lots of things change.
Yep.
Okay. So
Thank you.
Bob, if you,
Tony, I have a quick question, please.
sure.
You read those two bottom line numbers so clearly, and apparently I wrote them down incorrectly. Because they're not adding up for me. Could you repeat the fiscal 23 and 24 bottom line numbers? that you
Sure.
gave us?
And what I'd be happy to, but I want to make sure you all get the detailed budget too, so
Right.
that you can look at it at your convenience. So the current year's budget,
Yep.
including everything, including Essex Tech and special education, et cetera, is, and including Swampscott, is $4,357,565.
Excellent.
The
I made my mistake. Okay.
The approved budget by the school committee for fiscal 24 is $4,552,175.
Thank you. I just wanted it for my records. Thanks.
You're very welcome.
And Tony, if it's okay, I'll forward both of these to the committee. via
Oh,
email.
that would be wonderful, Bob.
Sure, no problem.
And just so you know, Bob, the liaisons, Barbara and Deb have them already.
Oh, okay. They may get two.
Okay, next, sir. So this shows you what's in the district budget. The district budget is nothing that is specific to Johnson Elementary School. It includes our tuition to Swampscott, the cost of the superintendent's office, not just the superintendent's salary, but the entire cost of the office, including the administrative support and materials, and the out-of-district tuition, which includes out-of-district special education, our membership in NEC. And this shows you that our, even though it's only 2.5%, our increase for our tuition to Swampscott is 20.6% of the $194,000 because the number's so big. And our out-of-district tuition for the first time in 4 years is growing, and it is 15.1% of the total budget. And obviously, the superintendent's office and the school committee costs are minimal compared to those. So the total district change is $74,822, which represents a 38% increase, which is obviously very similar to the Johnson School, which is 37.3%. So that's a pretty simple segment of the budget.
I have a question. Were the changes, the increases along the same percentage in the say previously, or, well, 23 to 20, 22 to 23? Or
In what?
Is the rate of these changes, like the out of district and the tuition, does it take that kind of a leap every year, or has it been lately, I mean?
So the tuition with Swampscott, we have a 5-year contract that runs to 2027, and every year the increase will be 2.5%. Clearly, the number keeps growing, so 2.5% in dollars is larger.
Right.
The out-of-district tuition, that's a fine-tuned number that I spent a full day with the special education director and my administrative assistant calculating the students that we know, where they would be going next year without any change in their IEPs, and how much that would cost. That changes every year. And for example, the out-of-district tuition between 21 and 22, excuse me, between 20 and 21 went down about 150,000. Then the next year went up. It's been pretty stable with minimal change until this year when it has the change that you see. So that's the history of it.
Okay, I think actually you're going to have slides that we will get that will address that. You know, so it will show those changes year from year to year.
I'm sorry, Deborah, could you repeat that?
Well, no, I think that probably I can see that information on some slide that we will get, that you capture that information from year to year.
Yes, in the detailed budget.
In the detailed budget, you can see the last from 20, 23, 20, 22, 23, and 24. Yes.
So I'll see it there. Okay.
And obviously I have records to go back further if you want to see those.
No. You get, what do you get? Like something like 4 years back, I think you get on those.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. Next, sir, if there's no other budget questions.
One question, please.
Sure.
The summer programs and the Island Roots summer camps.
Yep.
Use the school. Does any of that those fees for those programs accrue to the school budget?
No. The free summer school for the last 2 years, I have been able to get federal grants to cover. And Island Roots Camp is a self-funded parent pay-as-you-go activity.
So does it cost the school anything to host
No.
the Island Roots?
No.
Okay,
No.
thank you.
Thanks, Bob. So this is the town changes, which, like the district changes, are very minimal lines. The out-of-district transportation, which is parallel to the out-of-district tuition. Now, we always offer parents an opportunity to transport their children by car if they so choose. And we would pay them a mileage allotment that's set by the state. Historically, we have had parents who have chosen that. Right now, we don't. So that's one of the reasons this one's blossoming. So that $42,212 increase represents, again, 21.6% of the total budget increase. General education transportation is wonderful. We're in a great position. The Healy Bus Company, we signed the contract for the 2022 fiscal year. There's a very small increase just to make sure that contract's about $175,000 a year. So a 3%, $3,000 increase is a very small, about 2%. And that's for fiscal 24. For fiscal 25 and fiscal 26, there will be no increase because I was able to negotiate a contract that had 3 years of slight escalations and then 2 option years with no growth at the end. So that's very, very good for the district. And the Essex tuition is I just don't know. That's a fee paid directly by the town. And the way it works is, and I'm going to use year 1 and year 2 to make it simple. On October 1st of year 1, the number of students at Essex that we're going to pay for in year 2 is set. So the number of students who were here in October of 22 is how I know what the cost is going to be in fiscal 24. And the town change is $47,154, which is 24.2% of the total budget increase. So I would like to mention a couple of things. One is that if you took the Swampscott contract, which I have no control over, the SPED tuitions, which I can't even have an opinion about because that would be an ethics violation, and the SPED transportation, which once again is determined by the IEP process, those 3 items total 57.5% of the increase, or $111,000. So even counting the teachers and paraprofessionals increases, which I can't really control because they're contracts, everything else in the budget is going up 1.9%. It's really, the school committee has done a good job of making it the lowest possible responsible budget. And then if there are no questions, then the next page shows you just the current year versus fiscal 24.
Yeah, before I flip to the next page, so what I think I just heard is that uncontrollables, some of which are not even are truly uncontrollable. They're not just contractual and we know what they're going to be, but they're very variable, represent a substantial portion of the budget, and they are squeezing the discretionary portion of this. Is that a fair?
Here's what I think is fair. The Swampscott portion of the budget is very different than the special education transportation and special education out of district tuition.
Yes.
Because we negotiated that and the school committee signs it and brings it to the board of selectmen and the town administrator, and we have a really good, stable contract.
Yeah.
The other 2 items that I mentioned, the SPED tuitions and the SPED transportation, none of us can predict.
Right.
I spoke with a superintendent who is a colleague and I've known for many years the other day, who had called me for some advice. In his district, his special education budget is larger than his general education budget right now.
Wow.
Very unique. Now, ours is a fraction. If you take the special education transportation, which, and our special education private school, it's about about $585,000 as compared to 4 million, 4.5 million. So ours is about at 16%, which is a really good, solid number. The state thinks about 17% as a good target number. So we're okay. 48%, which is what my colleague was talking about, is crazy. That's crazy numbers because, you have a very large general education population and a very relatively small special education population, but the cost for out of district costs can be dramatic and the transportation can be dramatic. So we're in a pretty good position because we have a very small number of students.
Got it. And in your colleague's case, is there any sort of whatever circuit breaker or tipping point where other than local funding kicks in?
Yes, the circuit breaker this year kicks in at 47,000. I believe it's from memory, $482. What that means is if you have an out-of-district high-cost student, and we have a couple, the local district pays 2.5% of the average cost of a student in the state. And then the circuit breaker kicks in, and the circuit breaker would be approximately somewhere between 70 and 75% of any cost over $47,482.
And that 47 some odd is per student or in total?
That's the total cost for tuition. Now, they are for the first time going to reimburse some amount for transportation, but they have not gleaned how much and how they're going to do that yet because it's new. That was something the legislation last year approved. And that's good.
That's good. Okay. All right. Any other?
And that's basically the only salvation. So if you've got, 10 kids who are out of district, you're going to spend the first $472,000 from local funds, and then you're going to get somewhere between 70 and 75% of what's over that, but you get it the following year. Now, we do have circuit breaker funds set aside for unknowns that happen in the course of the year. As you all know, in my 6 years here, I've never had to go to the FinCom or the town manager for free cash because we don't have enough funding to cover our expenses. The way I use circuit breaker is two ways. One, and we have had this happen. This year is a good example. We have a student who is a significantly disabled student who was not significantly disabled until last year. And that student is looking for a placement right now that we would have to pay the first $47,000 for. So I have circuit breaker money that would pay that, so I wouldn't have to go back to the finance committee and say, we need free cash. If that doesn't happen, I take a certain percentage of the circuit breaker and I offset special education costs that are in the local budget, and I make free cash. Now, the way I decide how much money to use to offset is you can only carry circuit breaker funds for 2 years. So any circuit breaker funds that are more than a year old, I roll into spending on special education costs
Mhm.
and create free cash, or I use it to pay bills that were unexpected.
Okay. So when you say circuit breaker, it's like your reserve fund. It's like a reserve fund within your own budget.
Yeah, actually, it's not within my budget. What it is the funds that I just described that the state pays over and above the $47,000.
Yep.
That comes to us in the form of the circuit breaker.
Oh, but it doesn't come until the following year.
That's right. So right now, last year, we didn't have the number of kids in out of district that we have this year. So right now, we are accruing a smaller circuit breaker number than we will next year. But we are accruing about $16,000 a quarter. So we are accruing it. And I will have to spend the amount of money from the fiscal 22 circuit breaker.
Okay. Got it, I think.
I have a question, but why don't we wait until you get to the end? So, why don't you finish up and then I'll have my question at the end.
Sure. Okay,
Excellent.
so you can see the three areas of the budget. We are significantly over net school spending requirement. The net school spending numbers are, the formula is so old. I don't know of anybody who's under net school spending. It would be impossible, and you couldn't run a school district with today's costs. They're rethinking that whole thing. Our net school spending number is $2,991,337 for, and obviously that's significantly under what we spend. And like I said, in Somerville, our net school spending number was like $12 million, under the expenditures, and that's 7 years ago. So, and this shows you that the increase is 4.46%. It shows you that the town increase is the greatest, and you saw why. And I'll answer any questions. And the next slide gives you a little bit longer picture that I know Deborah was talking about. This shows you fiscal 20, 21, right through the fiscal 24 approved budget. Please note that even with a 4.46% increase in fiscal 24, the 5-year average is still 3%. And obviously the 4.46% increase this year has a tremendous impact on that. Notice as you go backwards, the increases have been in the 2% since fiscal 22. And the last thing I want to say is because of the monitoring of the school committee and the real collective work by the staff, we've been returning about 5% of our budget a year to free cash. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that this year, because when I think you already know this, I think Allison sent something to you. Our heating system in the cafetorium went down in December. We are now heating the cafetorium with temporary electric heaters. And I went out for bid, and the only prices that came in were around $60,000. I wasn't satisfied with that. I went out for a second round, and I got a local, very reputable company and they're going to be doing it for $50,250. And I hope to have enough money in the current unspent fiscal 23 funds to put that new heater on. And it's a heater and a fresh air delivery system. Now, for those of you who are saying, well, how are you going to do that? I want to remind you that the last time the school district went for special funding was by the previous superintendent in 2016, in fiscal year 2016, who asked for $27,000 for the double entry system, the security system at the Johnson School, the main entry double system.
Yep.
And ever since then, we've been improving the building and doing very significant upgrades, all within the budget. For example, 2 ceiling fans, and these are 12-foot across ceiling fans in the cafeteria last summer that were over $25,000. The glycol system, so that the system wouldn't freeze up in real cold weather. We've also been using grants, the Green Communities LED conversion, as you know, which cost the district 82 cents, which I donated, or I volunteered to donate. We have a new alarm system, a wireless alarm system. The entire security system of the camera system has been upgraded. The exterior lighting was changed and upgraded. So we've been doing that all within the budget and still able to significantly feed the free cash. I think I mentioned to you in the last year, I wasn't sure how much longer I could do it, but I hope to be able to put that new HVAC unit above the cafetorium and not have to come back to the FinCom. And I'd say cautious optimism describes my feeling right now. So I'm hopeful.
So now wait,
But-
so the $50,000 for the temporary solution has been absorbed in the budget?
No,
No.
the $50,250 is a permanent solution that we're working with Air Dry, a commercial company who won the bid.
Yep.
The other 2 bids were just about, one was 64 something and one was 59.4, which is why I went out again. That's what I hope to absorb in the current fiscal 23 budget.
Okay.
The temporary solution has already been paid for. They were $1,100 worth of box heaters, the electric box heaters.
Yeah. Okay.
And the good thing is we have the ceiling fans on very slow rotation. So whatever heat the box heaters make, the ceiling fans drive back down to the living area of the cafeteria, which last year, all we did with the heat in the cafeteria is we heated the roof.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right. So the 50,000 is the permanent solution,
That is correct.
but it has been absorbed into the budget. Okay,
I'm hopeful.
sorry. Okay. Be optimistic.
Yeah, we're hopeful.
Hopeful,
Optimistic.
optimistic.
Okay, we're cautiously optimistic, yes.
Cautiously optimistic. I discussed this with the town manager and the finance director, and they both said, go forward.
Okay. And what about the rest of the HVAC plant? Is that in good condition?
Yes. Yeah, the rest of the building is heated by 2 massive boilers in the boiler room. The only exception is the library, and I forgot about those. I put 2 split units I don't know if the members of the committee, you know, those units that are on the wall, they look like little radiators that are on the wall that
Yeah,
provide heat and air conditioning.
yeah.
I've,
Every motel room in the country.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a new one in the library. There's a new one in the computer lab. There's a new one in a second technology room. And they are both, all three of those are heat and air conditioning. And the ones in the technology room is basically only need air conditioning. And the boilers are in pretty good shape. We have done work on those all along. The rooftop HVAC unit above the cafetorium is unique. And that failed because the salt air got to it. That was put in 2007. The one I bid out has a special coating on it to resist rusting and corrosion. So hopefully it'll last even longer than this one did.
I have a question that is not perhaps very relevant, but as I recall, the cafetorium has a very high ceiling. Is that not so?
That's correct.
That's correct.
Is it against code if you wanted to drop the roof or drop the ceiling, so you'd be heating less of that up top area?
I don't know if it would be against the code, but it would be enormously expensive. The room is 45 feet across and it has trusses, and it's impossible to have a flat truss. You know, the way math works, you have to have an arc.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's exactly why I got the two huge fans, to take the heat that was up there and circulate it down to where the living area. And I can tell you candidly, the 6 electric heaters we have temporarily in the cafetorium would not be working if it weren't for those fans. And the fans are on all the time, very slowly. And they take the heat and drop it.
Okay, thanks.
So I have, if anybody else, I have a comment and a question, and they're linked. So my comment is, and you'll see how they're linked, is that I think it's a very good idea, and congratulations that the certified teachers understood the need of upping the salaries of the paraprofessionals. And
Yep.
just in terms of equity and in terms of the whole sort of team aspect of teaching. But here's the linked question. I think every school in Massachusetts had learning loss from COVID. And I'm assuming we did too, in terms of our outcome test scores.
Yep.
So was it a huge learning loss, or was it sort of in relationship sort of to the rest of the Commonwealth? Was it a sort of, there was a list at some point and I can't remember where we
Yep.
were.
So interestingly, internationally, the learning loss in writing and reading was greater than it was in math.
Right.
And I would have expected instinctively the opposite.
Me too. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, on March 14th, I'm going to make my quarterly report on the academics of the Johnson Elementary School. We are now in the 79th percentile of all elementary schools in the Commonwealth.
That's good.
Wow.
We were in the high 50s before COVID.
So we've gone up.
No, everybody else went down.
That's right.
Oh,
There's a different way of
we-
looking at that, but I have a different question about that same, on that same topic. In that we continue to have our kids go to school. Why was there a reduction after all?
Why was there what?
With our kids continued, we're one of the few districts that's continue to have kids come into school.
Right.
So we shouldn't have seen any loss at all.
Our absenteeism tripled.
Yeah, see, I remember that.
Kids
They were getting sick.
they were wearing masks. Now, I also want to go back. There's a comparison that is used for schools in Massachusetts that 15 years ago, that I sat on the superintendent's committee with the deputy commissioner, and we devised something called student growth percentage. It's called SGP. Our SGP did not go down. So we grew a little bit. Others dropped. So we continue to improve, but not at the rate we were improving. And you're right. We had the benefit because of hard work. But remember, everybody lost from March through June of that year. So you think about, if you're 6 years old, what percentage of your learning years is 4 months? I mean, it's not a drop in it, but if you're a senior in high school, it's a smaller percentage of than if you're younger. But we continue to grow, and I will be posting the school report card so you can actually see that, and I'd be happy to send it to you separately. But I do want to show it. I do want to show it to the school committee first on the 14th of March.
And please do send it to us. And
I will.
My linked sort of comment was then, given that I knew there was some, and cities like Boston has just been enormous, huge, tragic. That's where the paraprofessionals and the tutoring becomes, as I know becomes so important. And so again, back to that comment, such great planning and such great support and such great understanding that getting the paraprofessionals up higher, because they're going to be able to do, helping with whatever learning loss we've got. And it sounds like it wasn't very much. And Judy, you're right. We were very lucky in terms of being able to, stay open. But it's good to see that, because those all connect, as I know you know. So thank you. Congratulations on being able to do the leadership to help with that.
Well, that was a real team effort.
Yep, great. And you should be very proud. I mean, that's really great to be able to have that kind of team effort around during a period of high inflation, to be able to have that kind of buy-in around needing to do more equity in terms of equalizing paraprofessional salaries. That's just terrific.
Yeah, I do have a comment that I'd like the FinCom to just absorb. There's nothing anyone can do about this. As you know, the federal government has pumped billions of dollars into offsetting the negative COVID impact on schools and youth and all of us, really. That money, like this coming summer, I'm using that money for the free summer school, which we already have, I think, almost 30 students signed up for. I'm worried that when that money's all gone, then what happens?
Right. I get that.
And
But
because
don't you think that by the time that money's all gone, our students should have caught up?
no, I don't. Most students will, but there's always going to be some stragglers that aren't. And depending upon how impactful. So I'm not sure what we're going to be able to afford. So let me give you an example. We didn't have free summer school before COVID. We never had it. So if we're going to continue it, then I'm going to have to budget it or find a grant for it. Again, I don't want to alarm you. I just want to, it's a caution. All of my colleagues and I were talking about it, because we still have the money, we can spend it for another 19 months, I think. And then it's whatever we don't spend goes back to the feds. You remember that whole debate a few years ago about the COVID money at the federal level. So it's just a factor. It's something to think about.
Right. And that same conversation and that same worry extends to, virtually everything.
Yeah. So I want to leave on a, I want to.
You're not alone in that.
Oh, no, everybody. I want to leave you with a couple of what you need to do is tell me what's in focus and what's not. We had a visiting artist. And I want to show you.
I should stop sharing, shouldn't I?
Yes.
Yes.
How do I do that? And zoom up, stop share. There we go.
This is the Flash Road entry to the Johnson Elementary School, which is now like an underground sea tunnel. So that's one view. We had, and by the way, this cost the taxpayers nothing. We got a grant. Here's the other side.
Nice.
Tony, I'd just like to add, the grant came from the Nahant Education Foundation.
That's right.
We're happy to fund that, visiting artist, and I'm on the board there. I can't take credit for it, but the Nahant Education Foundation funded that.
I was just about to say that. Thank you for doing it. Here's what it looks like as you're walking. And the edge, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
And what is it, Atlantis? Where you have that fancy place that you have that undersea tunnel?
Yes.
And then this is the original one that we had about 3 or 4 years ago. This is at the end of our main hallway down by the, if you're facing in front of the school, all the way on the right. So that's a scene of obviously in the Nahant. Then the artist had enough time. This is now what one of the walls of our library looks like.
Oh,
Isn't that cool?
that is cool. You're going to end up on the National Register of something if.
Once again, Bob, I'd be happy to share these with the members of the school committee. Obviously, I thought we were going to be in the same room, but I can electronically share them.
If you don't mind, I have not discussed any of this with the committee, but we typically include some sort of artwork as the inside covers of the booklet. And this might be something, I don't know how it's going to reproduce in black and white either.
This is already done. The 6th grade students have already done their artwork
Okay.
for the covers.
All right, never mind.
We got Ruth on that right away.
Oh, that's right, Julie. My son was working on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, very nice.
Okay, I guess Finance Committee, what is your pleasure? Do you want to look at the detail? And, or would you rather peruse that at your own leisure here?
Here, I say.
Hmm?
I just assume not look at it right now, but see it on paper.
Okay.
Or online. It's me.
I
I don't know.
Where will it be available? Where will the detail be available?
I'm gonna send it via email.
Thank you.
Lovely.
And then, members of the committee, whatever process you would like to have, if you have any questions, you can either go through your liaisons, Deborah or Barbara, or go through your chair, or directly, whatever you all decide to do through your chair. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions that arise from the detail sheets.
Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome, Julie.
It was excellent and very, very clear.
I didn't hear that.
This was a really clear presentation, so thank you.
Thank
Oh, you're
you.
very welcome.
Really. You run a tight ship.
That he
Runs a
does,
good
and we're
ship.
very grateful.
Runs a good ship.
We're very grateful too. Very.
Well, you're very supportive. This is my sixth go round and there has not been one negative comment or exchange. I believe in you knowing whatever you need to know, just like I do with the school committee, whatever they need to know to do their work, that's my job. I try to make it not detail oriented, but organized in such a way that you don't need to be a mathematician to figure it out. I'm a little worried this year about the finance, the bottom line at the end of fiscal 23 for two reasons. We've had unexpected special education costs, which I have no control over. And in December, when the HVAC went down in the cafeterium, that was a total surprise. We had been maintaining it, but the technician came down and said, Tony, I can't do any more with it. It's all rusted and it's frozen. I am thrilled that the idea I had about those box heaters has actually produced enough heat that we didn't have to get it done as an emergency. That would have driven the cost because I was able to go out and get bids and we're going to save almost $10,000 because of the second round of bidding. If I couldn't have heated that, I would have had to just have somebody come in, get an emergency allowance, and then whatever they wanted to charge, they would have charged. And that's a terrible place to be. And I try never to be there.
Hand out.
Okay, more questions? I think we're good then. So thank you very much. You're certainly welcome to stay for the rest of this or go home and have a nice evening, your choice.
I think I'm going to go home. I've been here since about 7.
There you go. Please. All right, let's see. I was going to suggest that we had a quick go round of introductions of committee members for Joy, but I see she is no longer with us.
So bye, everybody.
Bye,
Thank you.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Drive carefully.
Thank
So-
you.
Oh, anyway, so that would be pointless to do that. Next on the agenda was what it's called for open space discussion. I don't know.
Well, I'm in favor of it.
Not open space. I'm not sorry, not
It
open
was
space.
rental, it was short-term.
Short-term rental. I don't know why I have open space on the mind, but short-term rental. We don't have anybody from either the proponents or anything here. To me, it feels like it's just premature. I don't think they've really, they being either the town side or the citizens petition side had really finalized anything.
Right.
But what might be a productive discussion is just what are our questions? And who would we like to speak to?
I I have a question. Do you know if Tony was able to facilitate getting the citizens together with the committee?
I don't know. I don't think
Yeah.
so. But I don't know for certain.
That's how we left it
Yeah.
when, after the committee gave their presentation.
I think we should maybe have this discussion when Tony is with us.
I agree.
Okay.
I also agree.
What I would like to hear from Tony, because he can see both sides, I'd like to hear a succinct, maybe even with bullet points, summary of what the difference is between the petition and what's being proposed by which committee is it? The zoning?
Short-term rental.
Short-term rental. Thank you. I'd like to see a summary of the differences. I think that would be very useful.
What I understand.
Barbara, I read both of them. Barbara, I'm sorry, am I interrupting somebody?
No,
No,
I
go
read them too, but I needed I'd like a summary.
Yeah, there is some differences
Yeah.
to note. The citizen petition is pretty clearly favorable to short-term rentals, more so than the town's short-term rental committee bylaw changes. So could start from there.
Yeah, I did notice that. But I think it'd be useful to have some bullet points of a summary of what I saw that from reading them, but of what the essential differences are.
Yeah,
I mean,
sort of like that.
in terms of regulation, for instance, that was the one that jumped out at me, that there was going to be significantly less regulation in the citizens petition. Yeah.
Barbara, the significant difference is that the special permit is not required
Right.
for the
That was
citizen
it.
petition versus the short-term rental subcommittee. They do have a special permit. I would even be supportive of putting a time limit on those permits. It's currently not in the final version of what they're going to vote on at the planning board, but the planning board has to kind of vote on that. And that's right now. There's no limit. You get a special permit on short-term rental, and you got it for life.
Yeah, that doesn't seem a good idea in terms of the safety issues, and our ability to be able to have some thoughtful continuing discussion of issues that arise. I did
Right.
notice that.
Do we know who the petitioner is yet?
I do not.
I think
Yeah,
maybe
we got
though, I think you're absolutely right, Barbara, but I do think that and it's premature for us to even get to that point until we know if Tony has been able to effect some sort of reconciliation.
No, I agree. I didn't want it to be something where this drives anything apart. We're hopeful still that we're going to be able to come up with a compromise that in some way is able to mediate these important differences. I was just thinking in my head whether or not I'd understood it correctly, but I agree, Deborah, we don't want to make it.
Well, no, it was more that I just think we don't want to have to do more work than we have to if Tony might magically show up and say, this is how the status has changed.
I'm all for magic. I love magic.
We know.
Well, do we as a committee want to, put our suggestions forward before it's final? There are some ideas that have been talked about, and could potentially improve the bylaw and lower the potential displacement of housing units in town if there are more short-term rentals.
My feeling on that is that we really have to see the final version of the bylaw recommendations from the short-term committee.
Right.
And then we can put forward suggestions, because I don't know what's in it now. That he was going to make some improvements or changes. I don't know what's in it since we last spoke.
Well, so what Tony sent out on the 16th is it's changed from there, Julie?
Are you talking about the citizen petition?
Both.
I don't think the citizens petition has changed because I don't think it can change because it had to come in by a deadline.
Right, right.
But
But I'm talking about the short-term rental after
Right.
we
I
spoke
don't
with
have, I
them.
don't think we've seen a final version of that, right?
No,
And so
Mhm.
I'm wondering when that final version is going to be out, because that's very important for us to see.
But if we want to have an input on it, I mean, now's the time to do it because
Oh, good point.
once it
Right,
goes to
once
the-
it's final, once it's final,
It's
we
fi-
don't have input.
it's final. We just say yay or nay, and
Right, good point, Dana. Thank you.
Plus, it's a 2/3 vote to pass it in the town meeting. So
It's a big
These-
deal.
Maybe we
Yeah,
need to
that's a big deal.
see, the next step maybe is to get with Tony and see where he stands.
Yep.
And maybe do that at a meeting pretty speedily.
Soon, because Dana's right about input. It's gotta
Yep.
be soon.
Okay, so I would propose this then. Let's put it on the agenda for next week. And I'm gonna make sure that Tony can address 1, 2, 3, 4 different topics. One, has there been any kind of a discussion facilitated between the citizen petition folks and the town bylaw folks? 2, is there a summary of what the differences between the two are
As of now,
as of, right, as of now? 3, some sort of a timeline as to when we would expect to see the final wording of the town one. And 4, can you give us a draft of whatever the current version of the town one is, including any changes to the bylaws?
and 5, how could we have input?
you mean before the vote, before we vote on it,
Right,
as an article.
right.
oh, yeah, we wouldn't vote on it unless we,
Had a chance to have some input.
right.
What else do we have on the agenda for next week?
DPW, water, sewer, and enterprise funds.
Oh,
And are we gonna try to vote in some of the template articles at some point?
We could, I was planning to do that on, it's on the schedule, actually. Articles would be the week.
So we're not gonna do a few as we go along, we're gonna wait.
Well, we could do them as we go along, but it's in our schedule for April the 30th. May the 30th.
No,
May the 30th. All right, March the
No.
30th.
thank you.
Better not be May.
Better not be
Absolutely.
April 30th either.
Yeah, it's one of those M months. Sorry, March the 30th.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a little mosquito here, only because I'm the one typing it.
Okay, no, thank you. Thank you.
But I
Thank-
do think that we did talk about voting on those that we could,
Right.
the easy ones and getting them off the plate. So why can't we do some of that next week?
We could do some of that next week.
So add
All right,
that to
thank
the
you.
agenda.
I will add that to the agenda for next week as well. So
Thank
next
you.
week is
Thank you.
DPW, water, sewer, and enterprise funds. This short-term rental covering those 5 topics. And I'll list out the articles, but the kind of boilerplate articles that are.
Right.
Thank
that are-
you. That's not on the calendar yet, right? Like
No,
next
that
week?
is not on the calendar.
All right, thanks.
I think we
Hey,
learned
the-
that earlier I can post the meeting, the better off we are, because then we
Yes,
have right
I
of
know, I mean,
refusal
agree.
on use of the Zoom.
right.
Yeah, I agree. Gosh, the last time you sent out the invite, the information with the invite, that was really helpful.
Okay. All right,
If it's not too big a pain in the neck for you.
no. No. All right, and then I'm also going to forward along the detail of the school committee's presentation.
Thank you.
thank you.
I
He
didn't.
always does a very nice job.
He
He did.
does.
Yes, he does.
He's very professional.
We are very fortunate.
We are.
And he does it in a really clear way without, and I can say this because it's my field, without some of the educationalese, which
Agreed.
can be not useful. That I'm being
And he
polite.
speaks very clearly.
Yes, again, not educationalese. He doesn't use any of those buzzy words that unfortunately have really clogged up the education system for years.
We're speaking of the calendar, the meetings calendar. I wonder if is it way too early for us to be starting to put a few twice a week slots in there?
I think it's never too soon.
Because if we're going to knock off a few of these little, articles here and there, it just might be less pressure if we had more meetings that weren't marathon.
Oh, sure. I guess I'm happy to do it the way it looks right now. I'm not sure we need it.
Oh, well, that's good.
That's even better.
Right.
I'm in favor of that. Thank you.
Okay, well then hold off.
Let's revisit that one next week then.
Okay,
But if it happens that we don't need it, it will be the first time I can remember that it hasn't happened.
Let's
Right.
not jinx it.
what we don't want to wind up with, in my mind, is that last couple of weeks having Monday, Tuesday,
Right.
Wednesday, and Thursday.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. I
That's
absolutely,
not good for the head.
yeah, that was awful.
I
I
absolutely.
agree. And also, like, really, it bothers me when things are presented to us at the last minute as, complete or final, and, all we can do is vote on it or not try to influence some of the articles. So just having a little more time is helpful.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we really have, we seldom make it. There's always an argument about why it has to happen. And we don't really have more than an opportunity to say something. It seldom changes it.
While we're on the topic of scheduled, Julie or Dana, do you know if CPC, where are they? Will they be ready to meet with us on?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm planning on going to next Tuesday's meeting, I think. They're in very good shape. They've gone through all the articles for the first time, and now they are doing their voting on it. They should have started this past Tuesday on voting on it. As of last week, they had completed going through the articles. I wasn't able to make last week this week's because we were here. But they're in very good shape, and I've been staying on top of them.
Okay, so asking them on March the 23rd is okay.
Having them on March the 23rd?
Yeah, that's what the schedule is. Also
yeah,
there. Okay,
yeah.
awesome.
Yes, because there's only 8 articles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and most of them are pretty straightforward, I would say.
Yep, okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, anything else just in the way of general business schedule? If not, we move on to public forum, of which there are none, right?
Hey,
Well,
Bob, this is Dana.
yes, yes, sir.
Well, just posing the question to our group, but do we know if we're going to be able to continue to Zoom these meetings, or is the state going to extend the option for Zoom after March? March, I understand it expires. Does anybody know?
I don't know. My notes say that the state's decision was due sometime this week.
Okay.
So I will ask Tony that when I speak to him about not the open space, the short-term rental.
Short-term rentals.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay. All right, then.
Motion to adjourn. I'll make that motion.
All right.
I'll second it.
We tried to stop you before, didn't we?
Yeah, I'll second
The
it.
minutes. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Beatty,
Aye.
Warren,
All right.
Sheehan,
Aye.
Zahora,
Aye.
Vanderslice,
Aye.
Charmy, aye. Oh my goodness, it's unanimous once again.
Oh my God.
Good meeting.
Love when that
Very good
happens.
meeting. Yeah.
All right. Excellent. Thank you
Everybody.
all.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
all.
Bye
Thanks,
bye.
everybody.